Okay, I think we're on. It was supposed to play the intro and it didn't. You guys, Tricia Turner here. We are having some massive technical difficulties today. Intro usually plays and it did not. This is Rise and Thrive. We usually come on Mondays at 12 o'clock Central Time, but sometimes we have challenges, and today is one of them. And I'm super excited because this has been an episode that we've been talking about for probably a little over a month now. Number one, the real estate market, as you know, has definitely been challenging for a lot of people in the last couple of years. And so the purpose of the podcast, of course, is to bring you positivity based on family, faith, finances, and fitness. My four things that I'm super blessed to be having in my life right now. And this morning, or this afternoon, I should say, Andres Serafini is here with me to talk about some of these things. Andreas, welcome.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here, and it's amazing because I share those same four pillars in my life. So I couldn't pick a better show to be present on. So thank you.
Thank you. Andreas, for those that don't know you, can you kind of give a little bit of your backstory, what you do for a living, where you are in the world, and how long you've been doing that?
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Andres Serafini. I am one of the co-founders of Realty of America. I'm from the Washington, D.C. area. I was born here in D.C., and I am a real estate team lead for the last almost 20 years of a team called the Washingtonian Group, and we focus on luxury real estate here in the Washington metro area.
Wow. Okay. 20 years. I love that. So you and I have a lot in common. I have the same thing. What I love your team name. Has it always been named that?
Yeah. So I was lucky to get that because I thought it was definitely taken when I decided to LLC it, and it was available, and I said, you know what, my team is made up of Washingtonians, all from the area. Since I was born here, I figured what better name to run with.
I love that. Okay, let's kind of talk through your 20-year history there. You are one of the co-founders of Realty of America, but you, of course, didn't start there because we've only been open for a year. Walk us through this 20 years. It's a long time. Where did you start?
Yeah, so believe it or not, I actually was in politics, like every good DC native that had immigrant parents. My father's from Italy, my mother's from Colombia. They came over to this country. My father worked and retired from the State Department, my mother, the Federal Reserve. So we thought that was the only path in this country. And then I studied political science with an emphasis in Latin American affairs. And I got into an organization called OAS, Organization of American States. I was the congressional liaison, and I basically was representing all the ambassadors for the Western Hemisphere and Capitol Hill. And I learned a lot. I learned people skills and everything that went along with it. But I also learned that maybe politics wasn't for me. And then that's kind of at the transition point. I remember it was around 2007, 2006. I had friends in the market. And it was on fire, and they're saying, "Get into real estate, get into real estate." And by the time I took the leap of faith full time, the market came crashing down in 2008. You remember those days?
Oh, yes. Yes. Yeah, not fun.
Yeah. Well, you learn a lot, right? You learn from the ground up. I can say maybe I wasn't spoiled by bad habits. And then I was able to learn a niche that opened up a lot of doors. And I don't know in Texas, but in the DC area, it was overconsumed with short sales and foreclosures, and you're negotiating all these things and 65 cents on the dollar or whatever you could do. And I kind of got my teeth sharpened that way. So it was a great learning experience.
That's crazy that you started in politics in your family. I mean, that's fascinating, number one. And I can't even imagine like the disciplines then that you were like focused on that were ingrained in you.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I think some of the most beautiful lessons I learned were from my parents, right? My parents, as I mentioned, immigrated to this country and always remembered the no victim mentality, and everybody needs a problem solver. So they instilled that very early. And at the same time, my mom and my father were huge in faith as well. My father is actually a deacon. He actually retired this past year after 50 years in the Catholic Church as a deacon. And my mother and father came to the DC area and started the Hispanic Latin movement for Catholicism here in DC. So faith was something huge that I was brought up on, and obviously, interesting enough, my mom had this one saying. She's like, "Remember, first impressions are everything." So you can never be overeducated or overdressed, and it's something I've taken to heart all these years.
I love that. You know what? On that note, you see real estate as a whole, especially in the last few years, there's so many people that have gone the opposite of that. First impressions don't seem to matter to them and they're sloppy in their appearance. And I love that what she said. I love because every time I see you, you're dressed professionally. It matters. Like that's the first impression of you. I love it.
Kind of your business card, right? Some people just remember you as, hey, you know what? You always dress very sharp, and I'd rather have that than any other uh, remembrance. I would say.
Yes. So you get out of politics, go into full-time real estate. How did that go for you in the beginning?
Well, it was hard, right? It was doom and gloom. 2008 for people that weren't in that market. It was consumer confidence was through the ground. I mean, it was terrible, and every home was for sale because it was underwater. And you just saw a lot of uncertainty and a lot of people losing the shirt off their back, which was really sad. So getting in at that low point helped me understand the business a lot better than most. You learn what not to do and you learn how to help people because that's all I was doing. I mean, I was 21 years old, still wet behind the ears. And I was like, you know what? Why don't I look at an opportunity to help these people that are underwater get out of this struggle? And that's what I was doing. I was negotiating short sales for a lot of people because of predatory lending that got them into this position. So I was able to help. And then what I realized through helping them is that now I had an open-ended inventory of these toxic loans and assets. And then I was going, there might be an opportunity here. So I started trying to see how I could find people that could maybe capitalize on this. And at 21 years old, none of your friends are, we didn't have that type of money. But I
Yeah.
started looking at my parents' friends and saying, hey, I have this opportunity where we can get it at instant equity and then we can rent them out. And they're in these great areas. And, maybe we get these rental properties. And that's kind of what helped get me moving at that time as a young 20-something-year-old kid.
Yeah. And most people, especially during that time, a lot of them weren't finding success. So you completely went into something different. As the market continued to shift, and then we came out of that crash and then all things were different. Lending was different, guidelines were different, everything was different, but interest rates were great. Walk us through your career path then. How did things change for you?
So believe it or not, very difficult for everybody. Difficult for me, difficult for everybody. It probably wasn't, I still remember my first year, I had one sale. I was like, is this really for me? And at that time, I was still 1 foot in politics, 1 foot in real estate, which as we know, if you want to be great at something, you can't, 1 foot 50-50. It has to be all or nothing.
Yep.
And what I learned is that I was killing myself. Luckily, I was young and I didn't know any better, but I was waking up at 7 o'clock in the morning, going to show properties before people went to work or do inspections, and then jumping on the metro and heading to the 9 to 5, and then getting out, jumping in on the metro to get back to my car to show them until 10 o'clock at night. It wasn't sustainable until I realized that, what, I got to give all or nothing. And I jumped 2 feet in. It was very difficult. But I was able to, at a point in my life, once I started moving things, find out a way that propelled my career. And the biggest thing that helped and came from that was me having a conversation with a friend of mine that was a builder.
Mm,
And at that time, I was looking at people that bought and sold more than one house every 5 years, because that's the national average.
yeah.
So I said, why don't I talk to a builder? So I went up to him and I said, hey, what do you look for in a realtor and a broker? He says, very easy. Two things. One, you bring me a buyer for my project. And I'm talking about $1 million price points here in DC. And I'm 20 something years old. I go, I don't know $1 million buyers. What are we talking about here? And he goes, or two, you bring me my next project. I go, all right, well, what do you look for? And he starts describing these little homes in these neighborhoods on these types of lots so that I can tear down that home and I can build a new, beautiful, brand new home and we can sell it for a million plus. And I go, oh my gosh, you are describing these homes that I sold to my parents' friends 3, 4 years ago in these perfect locations. I said, you know what? I think I might have an idea. So I would go back to them they were renting it at this time, right? We're just coming out of that short sale era. And then all of a sudden I go to them, I said, it's been a great run, but what about if I could tell you I could get you 250, maybe 175, depending on the range, $1,000 more if you just sold it tomorrow. They said sold. So, so then I took this opportunity to the builder and then I started selling them these homes and they were tearing them down. And now I understood that I got the back end from them. I could list the property from them because I brought them the opportunity.
Yeah.
And then I learned very easily when you control the listing, then everything else comes into play. Then I attracted the buyers. Then it was literally my moment that I broke into luxury.
And really, it was just from that one connection, right?
That's right. I took that short sale and those foreclosures, and then I met 4 years later and figured out who can I talk to that will give me more opportunities. And it was a good friend of mine. He said, "These are what I look for in a broker. Can you offer that?" I said, "I can offer that." And then that's how we were able to build it. It's funny because we were selling at the time 1,200,000, 1,500,000, and that was luxury then. But now I fast forward after almost 2 decades of a friendship, and we're knocking down building $5 million houses, $10 million houses together. So it was something that we were able to bring together. So it was really special.
So you guys still work together.
We do.
That is so cool. I did not know that. Okay, so what is the median price point there in your market there?
Yeah, so it's probably right around 675, almost 700. It grew a lot over the pandemic. So yeah, I would say somewhere around 650 to 675 in most markets.
And where do you think your sweet spot is? Where do you find yourself working most of the time? What price point?
Yeah, so I think I was averaging somewhere around like 2.7. Yeah, 2.7 was the average. And then, but I have listings that were 9 million, 10 million, and then I have listings that are new construction at 1.9. So you take the range, so yeah, it kind of throws you in the mix.
Your team, do they do also luxury with you as well, or do you guys focus on all price points?
No, no. That's one thing you'll have to do in order to safeguard yourself against changing markets, you can't have all your eggs in one basket. So even though we're known for luxury because that's a big part of our business, the reality is that we want to service everybody.
Yeah.
We don't want to corner ourselves into it. I mean, yes, we can build a brand around that, but the beautiful thing about luxury is that it does have to do with a price point, but it's also a service. And that should be a service that you provide everybody, right? It
Yes.
doesn't matter if it's $100,000 or $100 million. It's that white glove service that sets you apart. So maybe I can't invest as much in the marketing and the staging for every home, but my team and I, one foundation we have is that it's that level of service that we give everybody. So, but people always ask me, they're like, "What do you do?" And here, very similar to Texas, we have a beltway that goes around the city, right? So everyone will ask me like, "Oh, where do you sell?" I say, "I sell the beltway because we're licensed in Maryland, DC, and Virginia, so we're a tri-state area." And we have everything of the suburb of Washington, D.C. that basically we service. So we do a little bit of everything.
So I want to talk about that white glove service, because you hear a lot of real estate agents always want to be like, oh, I want to break into luxury. I've got to figure out how to do luxury. And it is defined by, of course, price points in a lot of areas, and depends on your price point. Here in Houston, median average right now is about 315,000. So luxury may look like 750 and above. It could be definitely a million and above. But there is a different level of service. When you were first getting into that and tapping into that, how did you kind of create this white glove service? Like, where did that all come from?
Well, we wanted to figure out what could differentiate ourselves, and I have this huge thing that I tell my team is in you got to do more than the average realtor. You have to set yourself apart because there's so many of us. Why are they going to want to work with us?
Yeah.
So it all starts from the process and systems that you have from the very beginning. Because at the end of the day, clients, whether they're high net worth clients or first time home buyers, they want to know that they're working with somebody that has a plan, that has successful outcomes and results, and more importantly, knows more than them. So I always try to put together a pricing strategy and a marketing strategy for every single client custom to their needs. So as long as I do that, I can create a checklist. And my team, they always make fun of me. They're like, Andres, you have a checklist for a checklist because that's how I operate, right? And I always say it allows us to dummy proof so that if we get an opportunity and a door opens, we can walk into it confidently that we know that we're at least going to make a good first impression.
Mhm.
Because you never know when opportunity will present itself, but you want to be prepared for when it does. And you don't have to try to close the deal right there and then. I think
No.
that's what most people have a misconception. You just want to set yourself up for the follow up, right? And that's the key. So as long as your systems and your process allow you to walk in there, talk the talk and walk the walk, that'll at least give you the appointment, right? And that's what we're looking for because nobody's going to expect you to know all the data and everything else off the top of your mind. Yeah, they want you to have a ballpark, but as we just talked about, every home, every client, and every strategy is customary to that person. So you want to make sure that you at least have a good foundation and that you can present yourself in a manner that will allow them to see and go, you know what, I'll give this guy a shot or I'll give this lady a shot. So my team operates like that.
When you are running the team, of course, you didn't always have a team. When the beginning, were you a solo operator?
Great question. No, I was actually part of a team.
Ah,
And I remember I had an amazing team lead. And I have two mentors that in the building. One got me into the business and then showed me the short sale route. But then I also had an amazing luxury mentor that helped show me the ropes of luxury. And what she showed me was that the most important thing about luxury is the connection, the people to people aspect of it. That is what drives everything regardless of the price point, people want to do business with people that they trust, they like, they consider a confidant and a friend, right?
yeah.
Same thing applies for high net worth clients as well. They care about those same principles as well. I mean, obviously, they care about a little bit different things as well, right? Results, discretion, and trust. But at the end of the day, it's super important that you offer that to any person you meet because that's the first impression that we were talking about that my mom harped on,
I love that.
so that education, that preparation.
How did you go from being a team to running a team?
You know what I think? Not everybody is made for it. I would talk to people now, and they're like, "I don't want to be a team leader. I hate managing. I do this." Well, that's the first step. You have to be built for it. You have to make sure that you understand what you're taking on. You're taking on all the heavy lifting, the finances, the motivating, the education, the opportunities, the leads, whatever it is, you're giving that away. And you have to be okay with that mindset. Not everybody is going to be able to contribute that much. And that's what differentiates the team lead. And you also have to understand that you got to want to help others
Mhm.
because if not, why would you do it? It's just
Sure.
money and time off your back. So if you can understand those aspects of it, then I think that's what cuts you out to be a team lead versus, somebody on a team.
So, did you ever do the solo operator status?
Nope. Nope. I played soccer in college and I understood that we were stronger together.
Okay.
And I was always from that team mentality. So I never wanted to because I mean the first thing I tell people now when they sit down, they're like, I want to get in the industry. I'm like, all right, well, make sure you associate yourself with a good mentor, a good team, or a good brokerage because it is very hard when you're by yourself.
It is.
And what's that one saying that Mark Demas always says, one is too small of a number for greatness, and it's true. So I always took that into consideration because I came from that mentality as being a team oriented athlete that I was going to take that and transition it into my professional career as well.
Well, clearly it's worked very well for you. Kind of walk us through this path because you are one of the co founders of Realty of America. Where did that come from? Where were you previously, and how did that turn of events take place?
Yeah. Well, I was in an amazing brokerage that was affiliated with At Properties here locally. And my broker and the CEO and president there, instilled a way of operating that resonated with me so well, right? That culture, that training, that business development mentality, that reinvesting into your agents was something that was super important for me. And I took that same way on a smaller scale with my team. And when I was able to, through an association, make friends with Eddie, with Mark, with Alex, with all the founders. We knew each other from afar. We knew each other's business, and over the years, we've gotten to be able to grow together and see each other. So I think that is what opened the door. That, and on top of it, the production, the success that we've all had in our own right. Mine being in luxury,
Yeah.
Mark's being an institutional, Eddie being in ancillary businesses and growing a brokerage. There's so many people out there that were able to bring success, but in a different form. And I think that's what the coolest thing about real estate is that there's so many different paths to achieve success. Not everybody needs to be a luxury agent. Not everybody needs to sell 500 homes. There's different ways of quantifying success. And we saw each other and respected that over the years. And then when the dream, the vision came along, I still remember I was walking at the national conference in Miami, Florida, and Mark and Eddie come running at me. And it was in Miami. And I don't know if anybody who's ever been to Miami, we're at the Fountain Blue. I think it was like almost dinner time. I'm dressed down. I'm out of the suit. I'm kind of like, all right, let's enjoy Florida, mentality. And they come running at me and they're like, we need to talk to you. It's super important. I'm like, oh, what's up, guys? And of course, they give me this high level overview, and I'm like, not in the right mindset. I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. They'll always laugh at this. They were like, you were the only person that didn't say yes right away. I was like, guys, this is way too important for me to take in right now. Why don't we get together tomorrow morning and we can actually have a sit down and I can learn more about it, because it was such an amazing opportunity. I didn't want to let a 30-second pitch
Right.
navigate me one way or another.
No.
So then they like looked at me, they're like, okay. So we set, 7:30 tomorrow morning. At 7:30, I showed up at the diner, suit and tie. I was focused. I said, all right, let's talk business. And then the rest is history. We spent, the next 18 months building out the framework and everything. We were traveling one week a month to a different city, and consultants and this and that, and laying down kind of the structure, and then obviously launched last September, and we're about to celebrate our 1 year anniversary, all of us, and this amazing endeavor.
Now, walk me through. So, I was at EXP. I had my own brokerage, and then I went to EXP. Once I realized that I didn't want to herd cats and be a babysitter, oh, and it wasn't profitable. Went and opened my own. I went to move. I moved my brokerage to EXP, where I was for about 5.5 years. Then I was at Real for a year prior to being with Realty of America, which I've now been at all year. So I was very familiar with the rev share model, the cloud based brokerage. Were you familiar at all with that model when they came to you with it?
Not at all. And I'll be honest with you. In my market, those brokerages, these cloud-based models, don't dominate like some other parts of the country, right?
Yeah,
My market is these small mom and pop luxury, or the Compasses of the world, that have this behind it. Like, it's not like, oh, you know what? But I did see an opportunity here, because I see this as the future of real estate, right?
same.
Because you hit the nail on the head. It is not profitable to run a brokerage.
No,
It is so hard to make money. Even not as a high level team, it's hard to make money, right? Because you're putting out and if you're a good leader, then it's hard,
yep,
because if not, I know a lot of teams, they don't do anything and they
no,
don't get anything and they collect money. And I guess that's profitable, but that's not who I am. I, I,
no,
I always knew that you have to give in order to receive. And the number one thing is that I saw this model as an opportunity for my next chapter in life, right? My next chapter in life. And again, I look at success, it's interesting, in 10-year increments. I think that in a decade, you can gauge success. So in my 20s, I failed forward. I learned a lot. I invested in myself. In my 30s, I built a brand, $100 million luxury. I was able to do all that. And then now in my 40s, I'm looking at my exit. So I saw this opportunity as an exit strategy. And not only for me, but for all my agents around me. Because at this point, I know Eddie always talks about, I want to make X amount of millionaires.
Yeah,
Well, I want to make X amount of leaders. Like
same.
that's where I am in my business. I'm like proud dad moment. Like, oh, we have 2 rookies of the year in our association. Yeah, like, it's weird. I mean, don't get me wrong, all the accolades are great, but now when I see other people, like we have Monday morning meetings, we have one-on-ones, and I give this, all right, it's your time, share your wins, right? And I always do this one thing. I go, let's go whale hunting. Let's find somebody who is going to break through a ceiling and change your life and your business. A whale. And now I see some of my leaders swimming with the whales,
I love
and it
that.
makes me so happy, and it's just that part of the evolution, and that cloud-based model offered that for everybody, right? And I think
Yeah.
that's what's wonderful.
Do you see yourself now that you understood the model, you see the capabilities of the model, do you see it freeing up your mindset so that you can, like you talked about your exit strategy? I don't see you like exiting. I see you more of like in a mentor role, like helping others build the same things that you've built. Do you see that more?
100%.
Yep.
100%. Because it goes back to now having these leaders, and now you're giving them, that opportunity to build, right?
Yep.
Because when you're a leader, you're the builder.
Yep.
You spend all the money. You literally filter the money because you don't collect anything. You're just literally filtering the money, and you're like putting it, reinvesting it into the company and all the systems and the time and the staff and everything else. But now you look at them and you say, hey, now you can build. You have an opportunity to be a lead. And I think that's what's great.
I think, and I talk to our agents all about it all the time. I'm like, when you look at the history of the world, that you see agents still right now in their 70s, 80s, and older out there on appointments because they have to, because they never set up any wealth, they never set up anything. They just went out and sold homes, which is fine and dandy if that's what you choose to do. But
Mhm.
wouldn't you rather build a life where you have retirement set up, you have investment set up, you're engaging with a community of people that you're helping build up, and you're being financially rewarded for it, because that is the way of the future.
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely. I think that is the mentality everyone should have,
Yes.
moving into it.
When you look at where you came from and the model, and now, of course, where you are today, because now the company's been, Realty of America has been open for almost a year, can you see a dramatic difference?
Well, you know what? Yes and no. And I say no because we're still a startup. There is
Yes.
so much ahead of us. Like all the success that we've had in these last 11 plus months, that's we went from in conception to infancy. We're not even at a toddler stage right
Yeah.
now. Like I always laugh with Eddie because we always talk about it, and we compare it to a child, right? We're just getting our legs underneath us, right?
Yes.
We
Yes.
haven't even started, like we're like teeter-totting. Like I have small children, so that's why it hits more home to me right now. But like wait till we start running. So I can't even think right now as like we're successful. Like, yeah, we've had our success, but there's so much ahead of us. And you compare, I mean, you were at those other brokerages, you saw, their trajectory. And we are, if you compare graphs and everything else, I mean, it's exciting to look at.
It's exciting, but for me, I think one of the coolest things being at the other two compared to this is that the foundation of Realty of America is built on people that are built their own like businesses on culture, on production, on like what you're talking about, leading by example. You're building others up. It's not built on people that really aren't in the trenches and aren't really even on the day-to-day operations. Like we're all still in the game, and I feel like you can't really lead, especially in the market that we've just experienced the last 3 years. You and I have been doing this about the same time. And it's like 8, 9, and 10 were brutal. Banks didn't want to loan at all. So it was a completely different market. But then we've experienced a decade of really a good market. Interest rates were nothing, and people were buying and selling real estate. That was the norm. Well, 3 years ago, of course, interest rates started going up and the market completely shifted. And here in Houston, it came to a screeching halt. Your market in Washington, did you guys see that same kind of impact?
Oh, there's every market faces its challenges, right? I'll give
Yeah.
you an example, right? For the longest time, our market was kind of an insulated bubble because of the federal employees, right? It was protected. Well, what happens this past year, right? They
Yeah.
come in and they put everybody on a chopping block and they start feeling. So I'll give you an example. This year alone, we face so much, right? Every 4 years, there's an administration change. So last year in 2024, right around August, everything dies, no matter what it is. Everyone just sits on the sideline, goes with their popcorn, and they go, who's going to win this election? Because it impacts us a lot more,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Because it's in our backyard. So, like right there, that already started slowing things down. Then we all face seasonality. Here in the DMV, it's cold in the winter, it
Okay.
snows. Christmas time, Thanksgiving, things start slowing down just because of seasonality, because nobody wants to be outside in January in a foot of snow walking around like, and plus they just spent all their money on Christmas. So like nobody has down pay. So we have seasonality, right?
Okay.
And then all of a sudden, boom, the administration, changing of administration, Trump comes in. And one thing that we learned from Trump's first 4 years is that he was the first administration that his cabinet started buying. So during his first run, he brought in people that purchased a lot more versus other presidents. They rented a lot more. So we saw an influx. So January, the big people, Zuckerberg bought a house. Everybody, high net worth sales left and right in DC. Boom, 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 and then all of a sudden it came to a screeching halt because the foundation of the DC market, which is the federal employee, everyone was like, whoa, we can't do anything because
Mhm.
we don't know if we're in jeopardy or not. Also, interest rates were high, right?
Yeah.
Everybody felt that,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And then all of a sudden we got into global economics. And people with money focus on global economics. That impacts you. When you're in trade wars and this and that, you're trying to figure out on tariffs and whatnot. Again, they go back to the sideline. They don't spend their money because they want to see what's going to happen. So we in DC have felt many obstacles. Boom, boom, boom. And that's why you have to be so diverse. That's why in the beginning of the year, high net worth was great. But then after, March, things slowed down a lot for high net worth. So you had to make sure that you're moving in a lot of different directions. Another big thing for us here is we have a huge international market. So then
Mm.
I was like, all right, let me pivot there, right? First time home buyers, that's always a great market here because there is a lot of turnover and momentum because people are coming in and out of the city, right? So you have to understand your market, track the data, understand that you can't have all your eggs in one basket. And then that makes you that much stronger of an agent when times shift. And then that way you're able to say, you know what, I'm prepared and I know what's going to happen. It's much easier for people like you and I because we've lived through these. But that's why it's so important that we, as leaders, educate our team.
It's interesting that when you talk about your shifts there and your challenges and obstacles, because you are in a completely different market. Like I'm imagining you are feeling it. And then when you talk about your seasonality, oh, I'm in Houston where it could be 85 degrees in December. So we don't deal with snow. So I can only imagine that your timing of the market is everything, budgeting. And then, like you just said, not having all your eggs in one basket is critical to maintain a 12-month, like you're running a business. You're not just running a couple months out of the year. It's all 12 months. Your team, how are you keeping them motivated, engaged, and educated to understand all of this?
Yeah, I think that's super important. Going back to what your responsibility is as a lead, right? You have to prepare your agents. Like for instance, I do a Monday morning meeting called Money Making Mondays, M&M, right? And we get on there and we talk about our wins, we talk about the market, we talk about talking points so that even the junior agents know what to say when it comes up, because I'm a big firm believer of like, this is what's going on in the world, this is what you need to know, and this is how you can present it in a way to make you sound competent and look like a true professional. So I'm the type of person where I tell people what to say all the time. It's like my own scripts. I'm like, say this, say that, say that. So I'm literally, Because you know what? Like, it's like the parakeet. Like, if you don't have the experience, where if you heard it enough times, you can say it and deliver it confidently. That makes you sound like you know what you're talking about.
Yes.
Right. So I'm a firm believer on that. So I educate people. I give them objection handling, and then at the same time, I give them lead generation tools. And on my Mondays, I do that. I do a basically, like today, I did one earlier today, and we talked about all of that. And I do it in a presentation where I put together a PowerPoint slide, and then they can take that slide and reference it back. And that's one of the cool things about having this cloud-based model is that I used to do everything in person, and then I realized that nobody obtains it. But now with this, they can record it and revert back to it. I mean, it's changed my mentality of how to operate now. So we do the Monday morning meetings, and then on Thursday, every other Thursday, we do an agent series. We did one last weekend. I got everybody to get set up with Angel AI and learn how that works. And sometimes we'll do script plays, and we'll talk about the systems that I've created so everybody has that. And now everything, the hot topic these days is private exclusive. So now I've given them an entire platform on private exclusive where, our internal servers, this, that, our own website. I'm giving them now a deck and presentation. So when they go out in there, they can have a conversation and say, listen, your house is worth more on the open market. However, not every home sells best on the open market. Sometimes if it's better to sell off market, whether it's a luxury thing and they want to, again, keep their discretion and they don't want to go on the market, well, I have a plan for that. Or I'm going in there to a boomer and she's unfortunately doesn't have a home in the right state to put on the market because it won't photograph well. I got a plan for that. So I'm giving people an opportunity to say, you are armed and equipped with what's needed should this come up.
Yeah.
And that's my biggest thing when I'm teaching to my team. And now, obviously, now I do this and I bring in all of ROA DMV. And honestly, I'll bring in all of ROA, and I'll bring on anybody who was curious about ROA so they can see how we operate on a weekly basis, because that's a type of level of commitment that I have given to everybody.
I love that. I do a meeting every Tuesday from 12 to 2. And I tell the agents the same thing that you just said. It's like, I at least know when I see you on Tuesday, I will educate you. You will know what to say that week. You'll know what the market's doing. You know how to deliver that. Same thing. At least I know you're getting that, because 95% of these agents are unskilled and untrained. So it's like, we got to at least get a hold of some of them. That's so crazy. I love that you do that. Your team that you're running, how big is it now?
You know what? We average around somewhere between 7 to 10 sales force, and then I think there's about 4 staff.
Okay. Are you wanting to keep it at that size, or are you wanting to grow it bigger, your team?
I do not necessarily need to bring on too many junior agents because I have the brokerage for that.
Yeah.
And I can actually now put some of my leaders, I can build underneath them. So I'm always willing to take on people of quality. Obviously, I look at somebody and you can tell, what type of person they are to give them a chance. And what I've learned is that I've learned over time, hire slow and fire fast.
Yeah.
Right. So everybody can interview really well, but I make sure everybody's on a 90-day plan
Yes.
before they're really onboarded, right? They'll
Yes.
get all the onboarding and everything for TWG, but before I start, promoting them and giving them too much responsibility, I think it's important to test them.
Now that you've been there operating, in as Realty of America for almost a year now, have you seen the market shift there where you are seeing that you are taking market share there?
Yeah, again, remember, we're not big here in terms of cloud base, and it is a growing thing. So now we're still in that organic attraction. We're focusing on the people that know us, that understand the model, that understand the value of upside of being pre-IPO, and that's a huge thing.
Yes.
I think a lot of people, they focus on commission, right? They're like, oh, if you don't come from this model. But you don't understand the opportunity you have building rev share and having an equity plan and package pre-IPO. I mean, that is what is amazing, right? So it's super important that people understand this. because it is something that is so valuable. So we're slowly growing here. One thing that I took from the California founders is that we're building like an army, right? We're having different plots and we're putting leaders and growth leaders all around. So like here, we're Maryland, DC, and Virginia. So we have Maryland. We have right now in Virginia is our hot spot. So we have Northern Virginia, which is right outside of DC. Then we have the Richmond market, which is growing like crazy. And then we have the Virginia Beach market. So I have these
Wow.
growth leaders that are growing there, which is wonderful. And
Yeah.
then here locally as well, right? So in the short amount of time, because we didn't launch with everybody in September here in DC, we launched in March of this year.
Okay.
So we're still very new, but we're attracting and more importantly, our sales are growing. But again, in a market outside of DC where, the cloud-based model isn't uh, the more common version, we're having good traction, which is wonderful.
You hear in certain markets, and you may not yet because you're newer to this industry, but when I was at another cloud-based brokerage, a lot of the overwhelming, and I think it comes from like the Douglas Elliman and the Compass field. I think they are the ones that perhaps started this, but there's this misconception that the cloud-based brokerages aren't fit for luxury. They don't have a luxury division. What's your thoughts about that now that you're in it?
Well, it's so interesting because
Computer is frozen, you guys. Oh, y'all, my computer's frozen. Well, I don't know if that was my signal or what happened, but he disappeared. We'll wait a couple of minutes and see if he comes back on. This is crazy, y'all. I have had just massive technical difficulties today, which is unheard of. But you know what? It's all good. He's coming back on. Let me see if I can get him back on to the into the session. Oh my gosh, this is crazy. Let me see.
can you hear me now?
Slowly, it's coming back. Oh my gosh. Hold on, Andres. Are you back?
Can you hear me?
I cannot hear you though. Oh my gosh. This is crazy. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Let's see if we can try to remove you and add you back in. Let me see if I can get it to work. See.
Can you hear me?
So many challenges today. This is insanity. Y'all, I've been running on StreamYard for years and I've never had this issue. Years. This is probably my 4th year running a podcast on StreamYard. And today has probably been, no, definitely been the most challenging with my signal, with my broadcast, like with everything. So let's see if we can get Andres to come back on. Okay, let's see. Let's try to get it. Adding him back. Well, adding him back, and we'll finish up here, letting you guys hear.
Can you hear me?
Pray that it works. Pray that the sound works. Oh my gosh. I think it's on my, I don't know if it's my internet or what, Andreas. I'm trying to get you back on the screen.
Okay, no problem.
Let's see if I can hear you.
Can you hear me? Hello?
No, I didn't. I cannot hear, and this is insanity. I don't know what's going on. I think it's freaking out again. It's going to boot you off, I think. You can hear me though, huh?
Yes.
Andreas, we're going to have to do a part 2, I think, and talk this because I can't get the sound to come on. And I don't know why and what's going on here today. I don't know if we're having some storm that I don't know about. Y'all, I'm so sorry that we're having internet issues and y'all can't hear Andreas. Now I can't hear him either. For one, you got to reach out to him for sure. In the Washington market, I can only imagine I have so much more to ask you. And I asked you such a great question, then I lost you. So we're going to have him come back on so we can redo this. Definitely reach out to Andres. Want to know about Realty of America? We're about to celebrate our 1-year anniversary. We'll be at NAREP next week, Andreas. We will all be there and we'll be celebrating Realty of America, you guys. We got it going on. We're in how many states, Andreas, now? 13, 14, 15, 16, 18. 18 states, you guys. So the goal was to be in 25 by the end of this year and then all 50 by the end of next year. Are we on track? Oh, dang it. My internet's just... Y'all, I'm going to close this broadcast out today because something is going on with my internet and it's trying to just kick me off. So y'all have an amazing rest of your day. I will get Andreas a repeat on here so we can hear more about the luxury market, the Washington market, and Realty of America. Have an amazing day, you guys. Bye.